Welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we share time-tested strategies to turn your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. Ready to up-level your business and your life? Then you will love listening in on the lively conversations Ursula has with her clients and guests as they share exactly what they did to grow and scale their business exponentially. Plus, you will discover how to experience more freedom, joy, and peace in your business and your life right now. If turning your annual income into your monthly income is your next step, then join us at the next 2X Intensive. Go to ursulainc.co/apply.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, the podcast where we talk about turning your annual revenue into your monthly revenue. And I'm super excited today. I'm a little bit giddy because I have the amazing Amy Theisen back with us today. If you didn't hear our last interview, I think it was about a year ago, right, Amy? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to go back and listen to that one, because today we're going to talk about 2023, the final year before the great shift. And it's very much on purpose that we're doing this in December so that you can just receive all the downloads that are going to come through today from Amy so you can prepare for the year that you want. So Amy, welcome back to the show.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, Ursula.
I know. We're just like giddy about this because Amy and I are very aligned in how we see the world and how we experience the world and how we wish everyone could experience the world as we create our own cocoon. So we'll talk about that today. Before we dive in, though, a couple of things. If you haven't yet, you can go to our homepage, ursulainc.co. And right on the homepage, you can't miss it, is our masterclass, Quantum Revenue Expansion, which pairs perfectly with the podcast. And we do three things in the masterclass. One, we figure out your quantum revenue container, i.e., what's your stretch goal? Then we talk about how to really tweak your pricing, your marketing, your packages so that they're in alignment with your quantum revenue stretch goal. And then finally, we talk about how to stretch time and really dive into the quantum by leveraging team, systems, and processes so that you can get there in a much easier and more elegant way. So if you haven't, go grab that. And for those of you who are really excited about the 2X Intensive, but you haven't hung out with us there yet, you can go to ursulainc.co/apply. Send us all your details and we'll send you a super special package opportunity because you're one of our listeners here. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Amy, who is back. Amy Theisen is a metaphysics expert dedicated to assisting others to design their life destiny, connected beautifully and effortlessly with their divine source. She also uses the tools of feng shui, which I've personally experienced and are amazing, destiny analysis, and strategic date selection, which I've also experienced and was super helpful to empower her clients to live their lives at the highest level possible. In the words of our world, she is here to up-level you and your business. So Amy, we're just going to dive in. So last time you were here, we heard your story, and people can go back and listen to that and just what it was like to build your business. Fast forward, we're in 2022. There's been a lot of 22s this year. There's been a lot of 11s just this week. We've had just a lot of interesting things happen. And even my son, my 9-year-old Luca, said the other day, "Mom, don't you feel like this year has gone so fast?" And I feel that too. So give us an update on your business. What was 2022 for you and for your clients?
Oh, absolutely. Number one, your son is correct. 2020 has flown by really fast. And if you try to think about when COVID actually started, most people forget 2021. They're just like, well, right. 2021 was just like 2020. And we could actually see that in the metaphysics charts. 2022 is ramping up to 2023, which then is going to flip us into an entire new period. So 2023, guys, it's going to go fast too. And for the next 20 years, we're going to see the speed we're going to feel the speed. It's really not faster. It's just we're going to feel like everything's going faster because we're entering an age of fire. So the things that my clients saw this year, well, number one, when I did my annual summit back in December of 2021, I was talking about all of the financial upheaval and the roller coaster that was likely to be happening. Now, if you remember, at that point, things were actually pretty good. Yes. Yeah. There wasn't, the Ukraine war wasn't going on. And that was one of the forecasts as well, the potential for war. So we had lived through all of the supply chain issues. So everyone thought, oh, it's going to be perfect. 2022 is everything's going to be great. But what we've seen is it's not so great. There's still supply chain issues. All of a sudden, the stock market took a nosedive, and I said, don't be greedy. Get in, get out, get in, get out. Take the small gains, and you won't be someone that loses a lot. So there's still that instability going on in the stock market and the economy. And now we're starting to see one of the other forecasts of the layoffs, especially in tech. We're also seeing a transition of the real estate market. So for my clients, their years were pretty good. My financial advisor clients, they were thrilled that they were able to start preparing their clients for what was coming later in the year, so that they didn't have the fear take over their clientele when things started to turn south, because they already had had the conversations. They'd already moved some of the money around to make sure that they could withstand whatever was coming around the corner. The other part of 2022 was emotions. And that's something we're not going to see let up anytime soon. And I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about what's coming in the future, but I'd like to say this right at the top of the interview, is one of the biggest issues for this next period, this next phase, the next 20 some years, is going to be mental health. And we're starting to see it now. People are paying attention to it. They're not shoving it under the rug anymore. But what it also means, because it's a time that it's coming, is there will be more issues with it. That emotional component is going to be more front and center. And I already saw it with a lot of my clients this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a pause. That's, I've had many of those conversations of late with friends, people in my community, clients, just the sort of feeling like, we've lived through the pandemic. You come out the other side and you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard? Or why am I stressing over this? Or what really matters now? That's what I keep hearing that question. Or like, what am I even passionate about anymore?
Yeah. I hear that a lot. And that's funny that you mention it, because as I'm gearing up for everything that's coming in 2023, there's ways that we can see what your clients are going to be facing in the next year. And it has to do with your personal destiny chart. Now, if you're familiar with Chinese astrology, it works with animals instead of stars. It's related to the stars, but they're called animals. So we know every year Chinese New Year happens and we find out, oh, we're the year of the tiger, which is 2022. 2023 is the year of the rabbit. So you were born in a certain year. And specifically for me, it was the monkey year. And so I can look and say, okay, monkey this year has this going on. So that means my clients are going to be transitioning or thinking about exactly what you said, Ursula. Why am I doing this? It's the validation. It's why am I putting so much time and effort in this? And they're going through that emotional breakthrough. It's starting now and it'll go all through 2023. And they want to know, am I in the right business? Am I in the right career? Am I going the right way? They need advice around that. So as a business owner, wouldn't it be great to know if that's what your clients were looking for? So you could start preparing answers, programs, services, products, things that would help them understand how they can gauge. Are they in the right place? Number one, are they passionate about what they're doing?
Right.
Because passion will get you through anything. But if they're not passionate, if they're just in it for the money, then yeah, it is time to change. So yeah, the mental health, emotional piece is a big deal. And there's actually 4 animals that will show that that's what your clientele is all about. So if you guys want to figure out what year you were born so you can see what's going on in your industry, I'll give you the 4 animals. You can write them down. If you have rooster, snake, ox, or monkey, I'll say them again: rooster, snake, ox, O-X, or monkey. In the year you were born, this is exactly what your clientele is going to be looking for next year.
Interesting.
Go for it. Yep. That they want someone to tell them, yes, they're going the right direction, or help them make with decision making to move forward.
That is so fascinating. And so I know we're going to talk about this at the end, but are there free resources? Are there resources on your site so someone can figure this out? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. You can print your chart right there. All it takes is a birth date. And if you don't know the time, you'll at least know your year for this little piece. So you can get your chart and see your animal right in there.
Here's the thing. People like me need real examples. So
Yeah.
Amy, give me an example. So if someone, like you were using the example of monkey. So you were right. Yeah. So you were saying that because that your birth year was in a monkey year, you know that your clients are going to be needing. So how do you come to that conclusion? Put in, like, fill in the blank for me so I get it.
Okay. So every year, there's 12 animals. So just like the Zodiac, there's 12 animals in the Chinese Zodiac. And these animals have different strengths every single year. So for example, 2022, anyone with monkey in their year would have been going through some sort of breakthrough, would have gone through some sort of challenge, would have been going through some sort of shift. So they're the ones that, I'm not saying that it was a tougher year in 2022 because there was a lot of other support for the monkey, but if they were resisting the change, then things would have crumbled around them. They may have had a car accident or some other sort of accident. And I mentioned I have monkey in my chart. So 2022 is when I was working very closely with you and Rebecca. I was having huge breakthroughs. I created some really great new things and services for my clients, which expanded the reach and expanded the number of people that I can help, which is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And then because I knew this clash was in my chart, I actually opted to have optional surgery on my feet. So we chatted quickly about that. I just finished the second one because I controlled the clash and I knew it was there. So I was able to step into what it required of me so that it didn't turn around and play with my life. I played with the clash.
Got it. Yeah, that totally helps. Yes, it breaks it down. And so anyone can go, you can get your destiny chart at, that's what it's called, right? The destiny chart. Yes.
Yeah.
On your website. And get a high level view of what, like who you are and what might be coming through. Exactly. So let's just, like, I feel like everyone's like, okay, let's talk about, I'm over 2022. You know, when you get to the end of the year, everyone's like, okay, I'm done. So even though we have a little bit of time left. And as we always tell our clients, there's still 6 weeks left to sell and grow your business. So maybe let me ask that first. Is there anything unexpected between now and the end of the year that you're aware of before? You're laughing. Okay.
December is going to be a very interesting month. And now I know I'm talking in a language that many of your listeners don't understand. So just let me put it this way. This year's 2022's chart that we use to actually analyze and forecast the potential of what is coming for the year is full of water and wood. It's a very unbalanced chart. We call the day master of the year extremely weak. And there's lots of money and there's lots of control issues. It's an entirely yang chart. So that meant people didn't want to go back to the office. They wanted to go in business for themselves, be in complete control, start their own businesses. So we saw a lot of that. And we're still seeing people thinking, oh, do I want to stop being an employee and go into my own thing? To 2023, remember I said weekday master 2022 can't control the money. 2023, it's the same thing. It's probably weaker than 2022. So because we have another chart very much like 2022 coming up in 2023, we'll see some of the same issues. Inflation, can't control the money, which means the economy is still going to be in flux. We're still going to see supply chain issues. I was just finishing some coursework this morning, and everyone always wants to know, well, what industries are going to thrive in the next year? This is the first time we can honestly say none of them. Interesting. And it sounds like this dire forecast. Now, remember, that's a forecast. It's not a prediction. So I don't like making predictions because it's a prediction seems like it's set in stone. So when it's forecast, it means we can make decisions and choices that can elevate us or can cause us problems. And that's what I'm all about, is helping you design your destiny, turn the things that are fate into a designed life. So just because no major business arenas or industries are going to thrive doesn't mean that we can't thrive. And it comes down to knowing, hey, what are our opportunities? Because if you know tomorrow morning is going to be the perfect day to go to the beach, are you going to plan to go to the beach, or are you going to plan to go sit in a dark office? And then the next day is going to rain, the next day is going to thunderstorm, and the next day is going to rain. Or are you going to say, okay, I'll work on the rainy days and I'll go to the beach on the day that's forecast to be the nicest. So if your forecast is for a stellar year with lots of opportunity, you'd want to start preparing as soon as possible so you could take advantage of it. Or if you have a year that's a little bit more stressful, then you can take a look at what you're doing, get your team in place to help you reduce some of the stress. It's exactly what you teach with Rebecca in the quantum revenue expansion is, okay, here's your overall picture. Here's how we can tweak some things. And you'll notice some of your clients will do that and not do other things. They'll do this and not do other things because they're feeling the push and pull of what's going on in their life energetically as well as mentally.
Yeah.
Okay, so it comes down to, if you know what's forecast for you, you can take advantage of it.
Got it.
Or you can just go blindly through the year and hopefully that you'll be led to the right places.
Yeah.
And look back at the year and just don't say, boy, that went fast. You can say, oh my gosh, look how much I did.
It went fast, and look at all
And
checked off my list. Yeah. So let's talk about, the title, that we're embracing today is 2023, the final year before the great shift. Some of our listeners are like, is there an earthquake coming? Like, what is this great shift? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
yes, maybe. I always think it's, this picture just popped into my head. Do you remember Publisher Clearinghouse?
Yeah, of course. Love that.
Ed McMahon shows up at your door and the confetti, you win $1 million. There seems to be this misconception that when we talk in specifics and concrete things, everybody just thinks it's going to be so obvious. But what happens is things shift slowly over time. So what's happening now, starting actually when the pandemic hit in 2020, is we began the shift into what is called, it's not a very pretty name, period 9. This happens every 20 years. We have an energetic shift that will affect us for the next 20 years. And it takes a couple years to come in, a couple years to settle in, and then all of the trends become very obvious. So period 8, which we're still in right now, but we are transitioning, was all about young men creating tech. Now, if you look at period 8, which went from 2004 to 2024, look what happened to all of the technology we use. From the iPhone to the iPad to the watches to the Meta to Instagram, TikTok, all of those, mostly, I think all of them, were developed by young men. So now as we transition into period 9, when this big shift happens, it's a whole new period. It's the fire period, 20 years of fire, and it's the rise of women. So it's women stepping into the power and leaving the patriarchal entrapments behind. And it doesn't mean that men are going away. That's not what I mean at all. It just means more equality. Gender is not going to be as big a divide as it used to be. And we will see more women stepping into positions of power around the world and here in the United States. What it means for us as women is we want to start now becoming effective leaders, learning how to lead, learning that skill set, how to negotiate, how to have conversations, because men and women are different when it comes to that facet. Men network differently than women network. Men have conversations different than women. If you listen, conversations between men and conversations between women, completely separate animals. So when you put them together, they have to learn how to communicate with each other. And that's what this time is all about. We're also going to see technology everywhere. So if you're a business owner out there resisting embracing technology, I highly suggest you at least start somewhere. The pandemic was actually great for that. So many people embrace Zoom, things that I couldn't do back in 2018 and 19. Everyone is ready for now, and that's only going to increase and improve. All this also makes the world a lot smaller place.
Yeah.
Because now you can reach across the world through the technology we have. One of the downsides for this new period we're going into is the possibility of war. Period 9 is very warlike. So each period's 20 years and there's 8 of them, 9 of them. So 180 years ago. So we're at 2022, 180 years ago would have put us in 1880. Is that right?
Yeah.
1880.
Right. So that would have been
in there.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So that was the last, that's interesting. And so just watching for those trends and seeing what's happening and paying attention to those. Okay.
Yeah, those are some of the bigger trends that are coming up. I mean, if your audience is interested in it, they can go to my YouTube page, and I have a very short synopsis about period 9 on there.
Okay.
They could look at that.
Okay, got it. Very cool.
It is actually pretty interesting to see the how things are shifting and changing already.
Yeah.
As we head into that.
So does this mean the United States will have its first female president?
It is highly possible. And if I were a member of one of the controlling parties, I would be looking for a female individual that could step up to the plate.
Yeah.
As soon as the next election, but for sure, one after.
Yeah. 2028. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the great shift. So, okay. There could be more war. It's interesting. Just what we've been, not we, but just kind of watching the world right now. One of the things you and I talked about before we started was just the idea of cocooning, right? Like for you in your world, it's being clear, having your destiny chart so you can be really clear on the decisions you're making,
right.
And then enabling yourself to create a space. So it's not all doom and gloom. So is it possible to thrive? I know it is. So what would it take to thrive in 2023 for our listeners?
Oh, sure. 2023 is going to be an emotional year for some people. There is the wealth element for 2023 is fire. So if you print your chart and you see you have fire in your chart, you will have more ideas, you will have more opportunity. It is a time for you to expand. Vocally, it all depends on where that fire is. Every single animal, it's hard for me to say the general things. Number one, keep your energy high. Number two, don't procrastinate. This is what happened in 2020, 2021. And even 2022, people procrastinated, and 2022, people were just bucking the system. They just were anything to do with leadership they didn't want to deal with. Okay, next year's a little softer in that regard. So not so much bucking the trend, but the procrastination is everywhere. And it's simply because we're going to this big shift. Follow your ideas as they come in. And I know you're a big proponent of it. I'm a big proponent of it, is listening to that divine guiding nudges. Mm-hmm. Because when you take the first step, the next step will be revealed. And I don't know about you, but sometimes clients get stuck.
Yeah.
They just get stuck. I don't know what to do. Well, then sometimes you need a little kick in the butt. You need a slap. It's like, okay, put on your big girl pants. And what's the next step you need to take?
Yeah.
And let's just do it and then see what happens.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a time to cocoon. I was channeling a message, and this was exactly the message that came through for my clients this month, is there's a time to walk, there's a time to rest, and there's a time to run. And whatever you choose to do, you are right. But resting does not mean you're not doing anything. Right. Resting means you are thinking, you are strategizing, you're letting, I'm getting goosebumps on this, you're letting ideas come in, you are cocooning so that you can come out changed and shifted and grown. Mm-hmm. Running doesn't just mean running to whatever looks pretty and sparkly. Running is taking what your strategy is and taking that next step. That's why I say passion is so important.
Yeah.
If you have a passion and purpose in your life, you read my purpose. I'm the catalyst that helps people design their life destiny beautifully connected with their divine source. I could do that multiple ways.
Right.
I've chosen this way, but this is my passion. So when you're passionate about it, the how doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But if you're only doing something because of the paycheck, the passion will die down.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that people are passionate about what they're doing. Everybody's like, I need my life purpose. I need my life purpose. No, you don't. Your purpose can shift and change. Mm. You just want to take, what is your purpose right now? Mm-hmm. What do you feel like you're supposed to do right now? And then start doing it. If you would have told me when I was 25, 26, that this is what I would be doing now, I thought you were crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, I went to school, I got my degree in microbiology. This couldn't be any further.
Right.
From microbiology, that's not where my thinking was, but I just kept following. Oh, Amy, I'm interested in feng shui. Okay, let's study that for a bit. Study one teacher, took the next step, learned meditation. Then the next teacher, I went into Chinese astrology. I only did it because he required it. He said, in order to practice feng shui, you have to have this. It's like going to the doctor and them just prescribing a drug without getting the diagnosis. So it's like the astrology chart's the diagnosis, the feng shui is kind of the kick in the pants and the way we treat it. So I took the first two classes because they made us. And then all of a sudden it opened up another door. And so I stepped through it. So that's my biggest advice is if you are passionate about what you're doing right now, the next step will be revealed to you, and just keep following it and let your purpose shift with you as you grow and change through all of the different phases of your life.
Yeah. So really following the nudges, because you made a great, like when you're sharing your story about how, you know, the feng shui course showed up and then you had to take Chinese astrology, right? Like then it was the next thing. That's what Amy's talking about for our listeners is like, do the next thing that's in front of you. And sometimes, you know, it is taking a course. Sometimes it's reading a book. Sometimes it's listening to that podcast. Sometimes it's doing all 17 of those things in one day, which I've been known to do because I love to learn. I'm a sponge. I want to know the next thing that can make it easier for my clients to achieve their goals. Like always thinking about how do you create the magic, right? And so like, just follow that. And also I want to say it's also normal to hit a wall. You know, I was talking with a client recently who just, you know, I could just feel like this things that needed to shift. And during that time, we figured out exactly what needed to shift for her. And then all of a sudden it was like, she's like, I feel so much better. And so finding the Amy's, the Rebeccas, the coaches, the consultants, the people in the world who can really serve you is critical right now. I think more than ever. I mean, I have several coaches that I'm working with. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 because I need that support.
Yeah. And to add on to that is the best investment that anyone could ever make is in themselves.
Totally.
Because no one can take away that knowledge. No one can take away. You may have been working with a coach and all of a sudden just boom, you had this big idea. I tell people, I said, I'm asking for the idea and they're telling me, no, you have to wait, you have to wait, you have to wait. And then boom, it's right there. It's like, oh my gosh, that was so obvious.
Yeah.
And yes, when you hit a wall, oftentimes energetically, it means we have to change inside. We have to change something that is stuck energetically or emotionally. We have to change that in order for us to get to the next step. That's why it's so important to keep going forward so that you can get to the next step to make the big breakthrough and then get to the next step and make the big breakthrough. And I will tell you, period 9. So everyone's feeling that energy right now. It's coming in already. So 2023, 24, 25, and maybe even 2026, there's still going to be this kind of emotional, not quite sure what we want to do. The period 9 shift, a lot of consultants, a lot of teachers, people are going to be seeking all of this inner shifting work. So spirituality work, emotional work, all of that work is going to be huge when we go to period 9. So if any of you are toying with that idea of leaning into that now, it is the perfect time for you to do so, because you will be riding the wave when 2024 and period 9 completely shifts into place.
And what about those of us who are already on that path, the consultants, the coaches? Like, is there an opportunity? It sounds like there's an opportunity for expansion or up leveling or riding that wave as well.
Exactly. You're positioned perfectly.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said, and then we'll start to wrap up. We could talk all day. You're talking about, like, you mentioned some of the nudges or the downloads or the ideas that come through for you, Amy. And for someone who's not sure what you're talking about, where do your ideas download from, or who do they download from, or what? So, because I feel like a lot of stuckness is sometimes when we disconnect from our source or whoever we believe we're connected to.
Yes. And you can call it whatever you want. I believe that each of us has a God spark within us. And a lot of people look outside of themselves for that divine intervention. I teach my clients to ignite that inner spark, and it's called the guardians. It's called Chiman Dunja. It's an aspect of metaphysics. I teach them who their guardian is, how to connect in with it based on the direction that they're at. And then it's helping ignite that. Because again, if you'd have told me back in early 2000s, I'd be doing this, even meditating back then was hard. I don't think I ever did. You have to start to ignite that spark, which then connects you to that entire divine source energy. And people have asked me to put a name to it. I just say it's the guardian council, because I'll just ask whoever needs to come in now. And they can play with you. Some of the basic classes I've taken with Awakening My Intuition, this was my work in 2021. I really dove into that. Is just the angelic numbers. You mentioned it earlier, a lot of 1111s, a lot of 222s. When you see double numbers, it means the angels are winking at you. And so once you start to recognize it, I actually was teaching my clients that yesterday. I got the whole printout here of all the numbers. And I said, when you have a conversation, you don't just say something and walk away. You have to hear what they say back, or you involve in dialogue. It's the same thing with our divine spirit, our divine source, that source energy. They don't talk to us like we talk to each other. They have to communicate using physical signs that we may not be paying attention to. So numbers are really easy. So it's like, okay, they start showing you those double numbers. I always say, thank you. I'm like, oh, thank you. There's the double 4s. There's the triple 6s or 7s or 8s, 1s or 2s. And then I will ask, okay, I'm thinking about doing this. Is this the right path? And they know I pay attention to the numbers. So then they'll show me, and then I can go back to my little handout and say, okay, that's what this means.
That's awesome.
There's even numbers that mean, hey, it's time to rest.
Is it always numbers, or can the sign come through other physical? Okay. Yeah.
It can be anything you choose it to be.
Here's something hilarious. So I asked for a sign maybe 2 days ago. I was at the gym on the treadmill, and I was like, all right, so something I've been wrestling with. And I'm like, all right, team. So I call my team. I'm like, just send me a sign. I'll be watching. Now, I think you know this too, but I have this thing about rubber duckies.
Yep.
So
right there.
So Amy, I was dying. So I'm driving Luca home from school, and I look in my rearview mirror, and there is a car, like a truck. It was up a little bit higher, and they had, I'd say, 15 rubber duckies in their windshield. Like, you couldn't miss them. Like, I'd be afraid to drive that car. I'd be so distracted by all my rubber duckies. But I was like, okay, got it. How cool is that? And I'm bringing this up because mental health, and I think you and I have talked about this too, but mental health is a really important thing that I've talked about on this show. It's really important. We have suicide in our family. So it's something that's really important in my family. I've had family members that have been hospitalized for depression. My brothers and I have like a 75%, like if you look at stats, a 75% chance of like being hospitalized for depression, like having severe depression. And so we've all worked very hard to keep our marriages healthy. We're all still married. And I have a younger sister too, but she's a half sister, so doesn't have all the same DNA that we do. But it's so important for us to be talking about mental health. And one of the things is to develop practices like you're talking about, and to remember you're not alone. That, if it's God, if it's universe, if it's a higher power, if it's angels, like you have so many beautiful beings and souls and human angels and guides like Amy who are around you, who want to, help you. And I just wanted to put that out there. And that's not the only thing. There's also, like, I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. I do not practice. I've been to therapy. I went to therapy for years. It was phenomenal. Every time, like if I need therapy, I go. So, and now because of COVID, the gift of telehealth is everywhere. Like you can get connected to someone to help you. So I just want to put that out there for anyone who's feeling alone right now. We're just sending you so much love. And just a reminder that you are surrounded, by so much beautiful love and beings, and just to open up, to ask for a sign today. Ask for a sign.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, don't be like the child who only comes to mom and dad when they want something.
Right. Good point. Yes.
Make sure that you're just saying thank you for the little things in your life, and just say, hey, I really appreciate you sewed me that 11/11 today. And it makes me know that you're there. And don't feel so alone, because, oh my gosh, every message they send, they're like, we love you. You are the greatest thing ever. You are so treasured. There's no one else on this earth that sees like you, hears like you, thinks like you, comes up with ideas like you. Your light is needed now more than ever. So just if that's the only thing you remember from today, just take that and know that even in your darkest time, you're not alone.
Yeah. Keep that conversation going. I love it. And listen for what your guardians, your angels are saying back to you. So that's a perfect note, Amy. Speaking of, like, this is my favorite season because it's the gift season, the gifting season. And my love language is gifts. So you have some free gifts for our clients. Will you please tell them about the gifts, and also just like if they want their destiny chart, where to get it, just all the things, all the juicy things you have for them.
Yeah. So, thank you to Ursula and Rebecca for having such a great CEO roundtable that I've been part of. And one of the ideas that came through that for me was to put together some online courses for free. Now, I know other people that do metaphysics like I do in other countries would charge for what I'm putting on my website for free. But there's 3 free courses on my website for your listeners, where they can go and find out more about themselves. You will print your destiny chart and you will print your Chi-Men information. So there's 2 charts you can get. And then I walk you through in those classes about your life star number, which is based on your year of birth. And that gives you some of your character traits. And the way I think I position it is, if you remember going through high school, there was always one grade that had really smart people, really good athletes, and then maybe grade or 2 lower below them, troublemakers. Always the teachers just didn't like that.
I think that was my class.
And that has a lot to do with the life star numbers. So I worked with a couple teachers a long time ago that we would position the desks in the classroom to go along with whatever life star was coming in, because they had a direction that was good for them. And so those teachers never had issues with those classes. So that's one of the ways you could use that in your own work in your office. And then the second course is all about your daymaster. You heard me talk about the year daymaster. Well, each one of us has a daymaster. It gives us about 70 to 80% of our character trait. So I go through each of the daymasters and I encourage everyone, print your charts for your spouse, for your children, for your bosses, your work colleagues, your enemies, so you at least know their daymaster, because it'll give some insight into who they are and why they do the things they do. And then the final class is about the guardian of destiny, your personal guardian of destiny, who it is, who it is. I guess who might not be the right word, what it is, and some of the character traits and ways they have been impacting your life. And then I give you the secret way to connect in with them. Ooh. So that you can, whenever you need a great idea, or it's just the starting point to use Chi-Men and Guardians, but you can connect with them using the direction that's in your chart. Each class is about 30 minutes long. You can always rewind, re-listen, but it'll give you the foundation of you, information about you and your family. And then if you want to go forward with anything else with me, you'll have some of that information, so it doesn't feel like you're drinking from a fire hose when you come to the next class.
Yeah, so awesome. Okay. And your website where we can get all of these great treats.
It's amytheisen.com. So it's simply my name. And my last name is really easy to spell. If you break it down into like the word is, and then an E-N. So it's Theisen and then normal AMY spelling.
Yes. Amy Theisen, the is in N-E-N.
And
so Theisen. We'll have that all in the show notes as well. And I highly recommend, I want to get these, and I love that they're only 30 minutes. I know you did that on purpose because all of our adult attention span. That's a real thing. So, okay, cool. Awesome. And I know, so for our listeners, definitely grab the downloads. And then Amy has an amazing summit coming up in January, but you need to get on her list to get information. So get the free courses, treat yourself, because what's the value? Like if someone were to buy those courses, all 3 of them, plus the destiny chart,
probably, I don't know, $400, $500.
At least. I was going to say I had 500 plus. So that's $500 worth of free.
$497.
$497.97. But definitely grab those and just prep yourself to make 2023 your best year yet, because you can, and you can create that space, that cocoon where you are thriving. So Amy Theisen, thanks for hanging out with us again. We adore you. We love having you in our community. You've been such a blessing to us and our clients. So thank you.
Thank you, Ursula. I appreciate you very much.
Oh, this is so fun. All right. And for our listeners, we care about you. If there's anything we can do, email us at contact@ursulainc.co. Keep us posted on any guests that you might recommend, and we will see you soon. Make this your most epic month yet. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.